Hello, my name is Ray Bowman. In this lesson, we're going to talk about third-party warehousing logistics. Over the years, this has become very popular, the idea of companies going from managing their own warehouses, their own shipping and receiving, to using third-party providers. And there's a lot of advantages to using a third-party provider. I mean, when you think about it, instead of maintaining the cost of a warehouse, shipping and receiving, and having all those costs based on the revenue of your company, it's a lot easier to get better pricing and better service if that warehouse is based on not just your company, but many other companies. So it's a way of maximizing those resources. A lot of third-party warehouses, too, have a lot more capacity. A lot more capacity in warehousing, a lot more expertise on hand, and particularly for a small business that's conducting international trade, this can be a real saver of time and effort. I've worked with a lot of different companies, small businesses, that can't conduct sales activity or have sacrificed business activity of any kind because they've had to be at the warehouse to get shipments out. So third-party providers can be a real value. The caution, though, is in not understanding what various costs go in to using a third-party warehouse. So when you look at a third-party warehouse, you really have to divide up all the tasks that are necessary in order to have a good outsourced shipping and receiving and knowing what those costs are. So what I'm going to do here on the screen is I've got a template that I developed that I use when I'm working with a company that's thinking about doing using an outside warehouse, a third-party logistics provider. And I'm going to go over this quote sheet and explain each part and why it's important when you're going to a third-party logistics providers. Again, third-party logistics providers, when you're providing warehousing, shipping, and receiving, every client's a little bit different. So it makes quoting a lot more difficult. And often that third-party warehouse, if they don't get those quotes right and you don't give them the proper information, then your pricing can be off. So just taking a look at the different elements of this sheet should help you if you're looking at using a third-party warehouse. One of the most important things is looking at your overall capacity. What is your overall warehouse needs? What do those warehouse needs look like? So number one is the product description. What kind of product is it that you're warehousing? Is this the kind of product that needs security? You're warehousing watches, jewelry, something of high value? Are you warehousing a product that's going to need refrigeration, that's going to need special handling? So all these things are important to describe. So it's important to first describe what kind of products you're handling and what are the specifics to that product. What are the amount of units that you have on an annual basis? How many cartons do those units translate into? Is it 1 or 2 units per carton, or is it hundreds of units per carton? What is your carton weight? What is the dimensions of the cartons or various types of cartons that you're going to be warehousing in and out of that warehouse? Is your product barcoded or not? Barcoding can help with the efficiency of both the shipping and receiving that's handled within your product. Is your product palletized? If your product's palletized, are you supplying the pallets? Are you part of some of these rental programs that utilize pools of pallets? If you ever see those blue pallets, those are called CHEP pallets, and that's actually part of a whole pool of pallets that are rented and returned. What are the dimensions of those pallets? Are they odd-size pallets, or is the footprint of your pallet the standard size? Are your goods stackable? And this is very important. Some goods can be stacked one carton above the rest, going up 30, 40 feet, or you may have something where you can only stack one on top, or you may have a product where you can't stack at all. And the only way to go upwards is to have it stacked on shelves, one pallet on one shelf, one pallet on another. So it's important to know what the stacking requirement is of your cartons and pallets. Also, too, it's good to note that you can only stack cartons as high as the weight capacity of each of those boxes. And you can actually check the side of most shipping cartons, and it'll tell you what the crush weight is or capacity of that. Can your goods be floor loaded, or do they need palletization? That's another thing to remember. Okay? So all of these things have to do with establishing what the footprint is of those goods within the warehouse. So when you think of how a third-party warehouse calculates the rental of the space, it's really based on footprint. So footprint is more than just the immediate space that the goods take up, but the more product that you can stack, the more product that you get in that single footprint. So that's an important consideration, and it will affect how much that third-party logistics company charges for the amount of space that you take up. So the more stackable your product is, the higher it can go. Without racks, the cheaper it's going to be. The less it can be stacked, the more racking it needs, the more expensive it will be. So in addition to that, now let's say we've established what that need is in terms of warehousing. We now have to look at the receiving end. And again, different products will have different considerations in terms of how the goods are received. So let's look at receiving. How many loads per month will the third-party warehouse be receiving? Will they be receiving a truckload a month, several truckloads? On each of those received orders, how many cartons per month are going to be taken in with how many loads per month? How many SKUs will be in that load? In other words, how many different types of products are going to be received per month, as well as how many loads and how many cartons. And in addition to that, how many pieces? Will the third-party provider just be handling cartons? Will they be handling SKUs on multiple pallets? So what's the configuration in how they're going to receive product? Are they going to get a lot of products at one time in single shipments, or will they get many deliveries of many different products? Next, you may have a certain volume and type on the inbound, but then you have to look at the volume and type on the outbound shipping part. So as much as how many orders come in, how many orders go back out? I once worked with a company that was importing cameras, small digital cameras. Well, they could get thousands and thousands of small digital cameras in a single container, and maybe for 2 or 3 months they'd get one container of cameras. But then that container of cameras could constitute hundreds or thousands of orders on the outbound side. So you have to individually identify how many orders are going on the outbound. What are the average cartons per order, and how many SKUs per order? As well as, do individual items have to be picked for that order? And what that means is this a situation where, to give an example, I had a client that did makeup, and they not only had cartons of makeup and lipstick and eyeliner that went out, but they actually did individual picks to different retail stores. So in other words, the warehouse that was handling those SKUs had to have the ability to literally pick out one unit, one piece of lipstick, or one unit of an eyeliner for a particular store. So obviously, the more things that have to be picked, the more orders that have to be picked, the more detailed that job is, the more that third-party logistics provider is going to have to charge. The other important aspect is not only the square footage and the amount of SKUs in the inventory, but how are orders going to be placed. Orders can be placed as low tech is using fax and phone call. to using emails. So you may use your third-party logistics providers and simply provide them with an email of product that's going to be received by the warehouse, as well as orders that have to be picked and sent out. So it might be email. It may be using an electronic standard like EDI, or you could be using the warehouse's own proprietary software. And there's a lot of different types of logistics softwares out there, and a lot of third-party logistics warehouse even have some of their own product that they've developed that you can use, and that's sort of an added value. Labeling. How do the goods, when the orders are picked, how do they have to be labeled? Are there shipping labels? Are there UPC labels, which identify the products to the retailer? Are there store labels, lot labels, or price tags that have to be put onto the product? A lot of third-party warehouses now get into the business of designing packaging and configuring packaging for purposes of retail. So in other words, you might have an item come in and it's packaged for the inbound receipt of the goods, but isn't yet packaged for retail sale. So I've worked with a lot of third-party logistics warehouses that will actually provide the additional service of configuring the retail packaging. Third-party warehouses can also be a lot of help if they're familiar with certain types of retail programs. In other words, you may be an importer and you now have a contract with any one of a number of large retailers. A lot of the larger third-party logistics warehouses may understand what those delivery programs are. In other words, how the boxes have to be labeled, how goods have to be received, how appointments have to be made if the goods that you're warehousing then have to go to a distribution site for a large retailer. So it's important to look at those. Then there are other types of fees that may go in to a quote that the third-party logistics provider gives to you. So they may break down, taking all that information, they'll break down their pricing to you in receiving fees, unloading fees, fees to stock the goods. There may be forklift fees in handling the goods, administrative fees, warehouse management fees, fees to take orders, pick orders, label product, provide documentation, provide services of shipping, tracking, labeling, and all of those fees go in to those monthly fees that you're going to get that third-party logistics provider will give you. So it's very important to be able to break down these fees and understand that all of these aspects of receiving, warehousing, and shipping are critical to getting a good quote from a third-party logistics provider. So I hope this quick tutorial helps you out, and I hope this kind of also urges you to look at, if you have warehousing needs, look at those outsources that are out there that can help you with your business. So until then, we'll see you next time.